Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Kayla and I make videos about all things BPD. Now, for those of you who live in Canada, you will know that unfortunately in Ontario, we have been declared in another lockdown. And this will last until the end of January. So I thought that I would take the chance today to talk about lockdowns, their effect on those who have BPD, and some tips and tricks to help us navigate this another long month. Although negative feelings and thoughts about the pandemic are normal, I think that we're all feeling exhausted, and who would have thought that this would still be going on 2 years later? I think that for folks who have borderline personality disorder, this feeling of emptiness and this fear of abandonment that they often feel can be amplified by the uncertainty associated to the pandemic, which can lead to spiraling of thoughts and anxieties and a bunch of negative crap. So today I want to run through 6 tips of how we can better manage our emotions and anxieties during these uncomfortable and uncertain times. The first thing I will recommend is to give yourself small daily goals. Now, because we live in a time where things can literally shift from one day to the next. I remember, I think it was mid-November, there was like 100 cases of COVID in Ontario, and then a few weeks later we're up to 16,000. So I didn't think that it was going to go that way, but you never know. So giving yourself small daily goals can help you feel accomplished and like you achieve something at the end of your day. Personally, I start every morning, I write my to-do list, and they're not big things. So sometimes I'll have one thing on my to-do list, for example, watering my one plant. And at the end of the day, when I look back at my list and I see that I checked off the thing that I had on it, you'd be surprised how accomplished and good you can feel about yourself, even if you set really small goals that maybe you think in your head, well, anyone could do this. Write it down, check them off. You'll see you're going to feel a lot better. The second tip, and this is something that is super important, is making sure that you're staying connected with others. It's not because we're in a lockdown that you need to isolate yourself completely from other human beings. No, quite the opposite. This is a time now where we need to connect. We need to talk to others so that we can feel surrounded and supported by those that we love. So making sure that you're scheduling in weekly game nights or movie nights, all virtually. You can do Zoom calls. I like the idea of also combining different activities. So going for a walk and getting exercise while also calling someone. Another thing that I also found personally very useful during the last lockdowns that we were going through, I was also doing my DBT course at the same time. So having that weekly group setting where I got to connect with other human beings who were also going through the pandemic, but also experiencing BPD for themselves, it gave me an outlet and a sense of social support of individuals who really understood me on all the different levels of anxieties and stress that I was going through. So if you're struggling with BPD, it might be worthwhile considering joining a BPD support group to help you with the symptoms associated to BPD, but also dealing with the social isolation aspect of this pandemic. The third thing would be to take care of your physical health. Now, we all know this. We all know the basics. Go to bed early, drink water, move your body, eat a well-balanced diet. So why don't we do it? We don't do it because they're overwhelming. They're overwhelming because there's so much information out there about physical health and well-being. There's podcasts, there's books, there's the internet, there's YouTube videos, whatever. There's a lot of information to take in at times. And so what ends up happening is that because we're so overwhelmed with all these things that we should be doing, we end up doing nothing, which brings me back to my previous tip of starting small. So don't do everything all at once. You're gonna not do anything. Just take, for example, starting to drink enough water every day. You can train yourself to drink enough water by starting small and setting up cues around your house or apartment to set yourself up for success. And what I mean by this is that I place a coaster next to my work computer. So every day when I go log on to my work computer, I have an empty coaster, and that's my cue to go make tea. Another thing that I do is I leave my water bottle empty at night, and I will leave it on the counter in the kitchen. So when I walk out of my bedroom, it's the first thing that I see, and it's a cue to my brain to fill up my water, to start drinking water. So setting up your world and your life in a way that maximizes or minimizes the efforts, I should say, to make those habits plausible is a good way and a good place to start. Highly linked to the previous tip, the next one is to look after your mental health. Now, mental health is highly tied to physical health, and usually when we start doing physical health behaviors, so drinking water, getting enough sleep, moving our body, taking the appropriate supplements, we will start to feel mentally stronger. But other things that you can do to increase your mental resilience would be to schedule in self-care time. You might be wondering, well, I'm already doing self-care every day because all we have is time now because everything is closed and lockdowns. In your mind, it might be self-care, but when you actually look at it, if you're playing video games all day and you're watching Netflix all day and you're considering that as self-care because you're doing things that you enjoy, they might be things that you enjoy, but you might want to reassess the intention set behind those things. So when you're watching Netflix, is it really your intention to really watch the movie that you're seeing, or are you scrolling Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat simultaneously for an hour on end? Because if you're doing that, then you're not relaxing, you're not really paying attention, you're stressing yourself out by going through your feed, comparing yourself to other people. So being mindful about doing the things that you like, really doing those things one thing at a time. And you can write down a list of things that are relaxing and that don't usually go well with doing other things at the same time. So taking a bath, for example, it's not as motivating to scroll your phone over scorching hot water because if you drop it, well, it sucks for you. Spending time with pets like Tuna here is also a great way to maximize your mental health during the lockdown. They can make you feel less isolated. They can be a great stress release and a great way to practice mindfulness. The fifth tip that I will recommend, and this is something that I cannot stress enough, would be to limit your consumption of watching or reading or listening to news stories. Now, while it's good to be informed, I don't think that this is what most people are doing. I think that most people are obsessively checking the news. It's the first thing that they do when they wake up. They stress themselves out before even getting their day started, before even peeing or drinking water. Sometimes they'll be scrolling their phone and reading COVID lockdown stories. That's terrifying. That's a terrible way to start your day. You're going to be stressed out. You're setting yourself up for failure. So being intentional and choosing appropriate times to read or watch the news, if you still want to do that, that's a healthier way to go about it. Honestly, I rarely check the news. Oftentimes when I see friends or family, when we're not in lockdown, obviously, they will fill me in with stories and they're always like, oh, Kayla, you didn't hear about this as if blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I don't care. If it's important, someone will tell me, and that allows me to filter out 99% of the crap which is on the news, and I get the most important bits and pieces from friends and family. That's my way of staying informed. I'm not saying that that's the right way. That's just the way that I have found to be the least stressful for myself, especially while in lockdown, because it could be super demotivating, demoralizing when it's just you're checking and every day the cases are going up and they're announcing new restrictions. So I stay far away from that. The last thing I will recommend, and this is something that you will see often comes up in my videos, is to incorporate a daily mindfulness practice. Now, mindfulness does not need to be overly complicated. If you're not really sure what mindfulness even is, I'll just link one of my previous videos up here. But essentially incorporating 10 to 20 minutes, or you can even do 5 minutes of mindfulness practice a day, can be a good way to help you create distance in between your worries and anxieties, to help you focus on the present moment so that you're not spiraling about what's going to be in the future, what are things going to look like in a few months, or ruminating on past events that have already occurred. You can practice mindfulness in really a lot of different ways. Try just starting by drinking your coffee mindfully in the morning. So just drinking your coffee. Or if you're going for a walk, just go for your walk and try to be observant of all the different things in your surrounding. Other mindfulness practices that you can do, and those are ones that I particularly enjoy, be gratitude practice, so it's giving and receiving thanks, as well as self-compassion practice. I hope that the tips that I shared with you today are a good starting point to help you get a boost of hope and energy throughout this lockdown. I, like you, am very fed up with this whole thing, and I'm excited for life to return to more normal stasis, whatever that looks like. If you found this video useful, be sure to give it a like, and the best way to support my channel is really to subscribe to it, as well as share my videos, because while we share my videos, we are sharing information about BPD and mental illness, and this is really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to spread awareness and break stigma. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today. I hope that you were able to take some information away and that they can help you ease the anxiety of this current lockdown, and hopefully this is the last one.